It is repetition which makes for perfection.
You know, it's funny. PJ Beister was asking for like sort of recollections as I was drawing the Wildcats again. As I prepared to draw Cyclops, this is something I used to do as a kid. I would draw through and go like, oh, if I drew the eyes with the, you know, or a lot of times you draw like Bruce Wayne and then you draw the cowl over the face that you just drew, just to see if, you know, are you consistent? The way you draw Batman is the same way you draw Bruce Wayne, and sometimes it's not, you know. But you know, you find certainly like a character like Wonder Woman. Sometimes I realize, man, the foreheads I'm putting on her are narrower and narrower because I would have the hair come straight out of the tiara, right? So should I draw Diana Prince first and then add the accoutrements, which I don't. You just kind of incorporate the costume stuff in. But as a kid, I would do stuff like this. Go like, oh, I'll draw Scott Summers and then add the visor and see how that looks. But anyway. I just did an interview yesterday about Neal Adams' impact on my work, and I just love the way he drew Scott's Cyclops. He was always considered kind of a dry character, you know, no nonsense by the book. But I don't know if Neal ever read that or cared. He always drew him kind of really pissed off. I mean, that's just the thing. He drew all his characters with such expressiveness, right? Now you're talking about old school, super old school, with the sort of yellow, you know, practice jersey. I don't know if you guys remember. Dating myself in high school, if you played like a sport like soccer or football, and you're scrimmaging against your own team to sort of differentiate the two teams, away and home, because everyone was wearing the same colors because we went to the same school. You throw on like kind of this weird mesh semi-tunic, like a wife beater type thing, horrible name, sleeveless t-shirt, you know, and they're usually yellow. A penny, is that what they're called? So I feel like the home team is blue, and then when they scrimmage against each other, the X-Men put these yellow sort of tunics on. Anyway. And also like the sort of the super wide, tall visor. And then you got, has a button there, which he would have to. Later he could kind of just do it without pushing the button, but back in the day he had to push the button. I don't know what happened to the button. All became automated. The idea that the original team were blue and yellow, and yeah, so this idea that home team, away team, right? So yes. Little nuggets of information I've ever talked about in quite some time. I've never drawn one of these before, and paper is nice. It's a little slick. I feel that's, I gotta be careful where my hand kind of goes over. So I think Neal was my favorite artist in terms of bringing this character to life. I did like the John Byrne and the Dave Cockrum version as well, but they were both influenced by Neal's sort of take on it. I think the John Byrne Wolverine is my favorite. Actually, his take on the characters in general, I would say, remain the new X-Men, at least. But Neal Adams for the classic version, oof, the best. Those last issues of the X-Men before it got canceled, just like, oh, I can't believe this book got canceled. It's so good. Roy Thomas. Neal Adams. Tom Palmer inks some of the very best comics of that day, and it just kind of shows you the power of the struggle it was for them to be able to sell books that were strongly written, beautifully drawn, newsstand. Just didn't support it. But man, that run of the Sentinels, and then going to the Savage Land, or Savage Land, then Sentinels, I can't remember the order. Magneto. Well, Sentinels, then Savage Land, Magneto. Magneto. Alright, the last issue, I believe, was Magneto? Was it? Anyone know? Retro Gambit 215. No, it was Dave Cockrum that gave him the Buccaneer boots. John actually kind of pulled them in and made them more flush to the calf. Him and Paul Smith, if memory serves correctly. I also liked, back in the day, these uniforms. They were cloth. X-Men, more than anything, they look like PJs. Like they couldn't afford to take their uniforms to like the dry cleaner. That was kind of like the fun of the early Jack Kirby X-Men drawings. Is like these big sort of huge wrinkles. Have I ever done sketch card art? You mean like originals that were then blown in with packs of cards? Is that the question? I don't think so. I know that on some of the stuff I did, I think the X-Men trading cards, I did a signature and then they gold embossed it or silver embossed it on the cards themselves. But I don't, but it's such a long time ago. Might have been. See how it's smeared there, right there? So that's what I got to be careful about. Although, ooh, it's always fun when you can kind of do that. Anything like I've drawn on motorcycle helmets, megaphones, and they all have this kind of slippery, shellacky kind of finish, and so it allows you to, like, I think this ink when it dries is permanent, but it takes a while to dry because of the lamination. I can smear it to create cool grays. And also some sort of metal effects, right? All right. To make sure that your finger doesn't have excess ink on it, because you'll be dragging it from an area, or dragging it into an area that you don't want to have ink sort of smeared on. And what you decide, oh, smearing it over there, what you decide is black smear versus line work. It's up to you. It's kind of both the challenge and the fun of it. All right. I hope this looks all right. Careful. You can see the smears I have over here, so, oh, and there's some up here too. Now I have to make these smears that are outside of the figure. Somehow part of this, it's funny because, you know, it was Gail Simone that was trolling fans about what his optic blasts were fire-based or heat-based versus force-based. I'm like, oh, they're fire-based. They shoot fire. And in fact, I might have drawn this one. Don't, I've seen a lot of different artists draw smoke coming out of the visor. Explain that if it's force-based. What's the like smoke? Smoke from propulsion? From... Doesn't make any sense to me. Alright, so... No, there's only one answer. It's force-based. The smoke is just it's an artistic affect. Ignore it. It's wrong. It just looks cool. Sometimes art, not everything has to be explained. Right? Sometimes it could just be cool. Allow it to be cool. Keep that mystery. Yeah, now we're talking about rules. Who makes up the rules of art? No one does, but we all do. How's that? How's that for a paradox? Alright. All that to fix this down here. I mean, that was the whole point of all this. That was an accident. So I go out of my way and do all this other stuff to make this feel like it was intentional and not me being a klutz and just smearing ink. But we'll keep that a secret, just all of us here, right? See, it's so weird that how bright that is and how blood red it is elsewhere. Is it because I've got a little black ink on there? I don't know. Oh, that was not good. Not intended. But I can certainly fill this up now, I think. But man, that's going to make for a lot slower drying time. So we're going to have to... let's fill it all in, and then I'll use white out to kind of pull that together. Got way too much ink on here. I'm just pulling it off the surface. Okay, it's getting tacky, so I feel like it's drying. I'm going to pull some highlights. Some side light. Probably I like this white in the thing. It creates sort of a highlight on his head, so I'm kind of playing into that. Okay. Keeps putting a ton of ink. It's getting tricky. All right. There we go. All right. That's as much as I'm gonna mess with it. If you can see it. Full thing. And anyway, it's signed.